Yeah. Hey. Shipped from the shores of Cape Coast, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Senegal, black gold they were hauling. 400 years it was hard then. Kept striving to be free from Marcus Du Bois. Can't forget Kwame. For reparations they did pray. To unite in their honor we do say, Yanko, Yanko, Africa. Yanko, Yanko, Africa. Yanko, Yanko, Africa. Yanko, Yanko, Africa.
All right, I thank you for tuning in to the Yanko Africa YouTube channel. My name is Ama and you are all welcome. I want to say, first of all, explain why you're looking at my plant. Pretty much you're going to be looking at this for the duration of the share. If you remain, I hope that you do. All right, and it's because there are a lot of times that I just cannot get on camera, and also there are times when I just don't want to, which is most of the time, get on camera. I really don't feel comfortable just sitting and staring at a hole in my computer. It seems really weird to me. But on this particular channel, I've made it my point to at least show my face more often because of things that we'll be covering and the relationships that will be built from this particular channel. Okay, so I think that it is important for me to at least sometimes come out of my comfort zone and get on camera. There are also other times where I cannot record, or it's just not a good idea or suitable for me to record from that location. Okay, and I'm sure that you guys will understand that. All right, so let's get into this. What is hindering or trying to stall, because it cannot hinder, okay? We see that the diaspora is on the move. The African diaspora is definitely on the move. There are people who were native-born Africans who are returning to the continent, and there are those of us who are descendants of the transatlantic slavery throughout the world who are returning to the continent, some for the first time. Those of us who have been going over the years, many of us are getting established on the continent, right? And so, but I also notice or observe that there are members of the diaspora who are trying to, or who are somewhat stalling themselves or stalling loved ones, okay? And so today I want to speak on this based on gender, okay? Who is at fault among those who are stalling? Is it the men or the women, okay? All right, and I'm going to give my experiences and my observation, okay? My observation is that most of the stall, although in my experiences on the continent, I have ran into more women who are descendants of the transatlantic slave trade on the continent than I have men who are descendants of the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, that's my experience. So if you're African American, Jamaican, anywhere in the Caribbean, in Europe, wherever, in my experience, I have met more women, such as myself, who have said, you know what, I'm going back. I'm back. Even if it's to visit, build something, whatever. The women I have experienced have been there, on the continent, okay, most often, all right, descendants of the transatlantic slave trade. However, among native African women, I find that particularly those who are married, they don't want to go back, all right, but their husbands want to go back. Interesting. And it's causing a lot of rift in relationships and marriages. And sometimes the man just shuts down and he doesn't talk about it anymore. And so you think the issue is resolved, but it's actually causing problems in your marriage relationship. And this is something I've seen, I've observed, something I've heard other people speak about. I even have a close friend who's, I don't know if they're legally married, but in the U.S., I know that they are in a relationship as husband and wife, and she is Ghanaian, he's Nigerian, and he's left her in America pretty much, and he's back in Ghana. He's in Ghana living, right? He comes and goes, but she is remaining in America because she doesn't want to leave. And I've seen this over and over and over again. And so what I find to be some of the main excuses or reasons, okay, complaints, why they don't want to return is a lot of women, okay, let me just say what I think. First of all, a lot of it is life on the continent for women is very hard. Okay, if you are not married to an upper middle class man or a middle class man and or a rich man, okay, it can be very difficult. You'll see that the women do a whole lot. They carry the load. They are out on the markets. They're walking the streets selling things, babies on their backs, doing whatever it is because they know they have to feed their kids. All right, now when you get into the middle class and the upper middle class, you'll find that the men are usually the money makers, even though the women may work. The burden and the load, not that there isn't stress for the women at that level, but you'll see that day-to-day grind is not as stressful for the women whose husbands are of more, greater financial means, okay? And so I find that a lot of women who went to school, got educated, maybe nurses, especially a lot of nurses, they don't want to go back, all right? Now, I also find there are a lot of husbands who educated their wives, meaning they made sure that their wives became nurses. They, here in the U.S., a lot of them are sitting down and just sending her out like, Anime, bring that money back. Now, if you haven't seen the movie with Tina Turner and I pretty much put Tina out there, do your thing, Anime, make that money, all right? He was there, playing that guitar in the background, but at the same time, regardless of how she felt, if she didn't feel good, she didn't want to sing, whatever, get out there and make that money, Anime. So there are a lot of Nigerian men, Ghanaian men, Kenyan men, wherever you're from, who do that to their wives, okay? And then some of them just sit back and want her to work, 12, 18-hour shifts and bring the money back. So don't get upset, ladies. I know that some of you are experiencing that. But for the most part, what I have seen and what I have observed and experienced among people that I know is that a lot of women who were born on the continent and get here, get comfortable, their lives are going better, they're getting the homes that they want, the kids are going to schools where they want them to go, life is good, they're driving what they want, things are looking pretty good, and their husbands are tired. Their husbands, like, I want to go back. I'm tired of the rat race. I'm tired of this lifestyle. I want to go back. And the women are resisting. And some of them, to me, women, regardless of your ethnicity, nationality, whatever, women can have a way of practicing what I call a form of witchcraft. Now, some of y'all might get upset. It is what it is. And to me, manipulation is a form of witchcraft. If you are manipulating somebody to get what you want, you shut down, you stop having sex, you stop cooking, you get an attitude, or even if you make his food, you're slamming it on the table, or you're cooking stuff that he really doesn't like to eat, to me, that's a form of manipulation. And once again, in my opinion, manipulation is a form of witchcraft. It is what it doggone is. All right? Now, and you know it because when they want something from him, they'll fix his favorite food. They got lots of love, hug, meeting you at the door, carrying your bags, this, that, and the other. So they turn on the charm when it's something that they want. But then when they don't want something, or they want to express that they're not pleased with a decision that he has made or that he's considering making, they do the opposite of what they do when they want something. And so you find a lot of men frustrated. You find a lot of men in the diaspora who just, African-born men, who just give in to their wives, or, it just impacts the relationships. And sometimes they split up and one goes one way and the other one goes another way. And you'll find one still remaining in the diaspora and the other one back at home, okay? And so this is something that we really need to sit down and ask ourselves, what are we working for? What is it that you're trying to get? Are you thinking you're giving your kids a better life? Are you really giving your kids a better life? How connected are your kids to their culture, to their heritage? How adaptable are your kids? Can they go back to their parents' native land and adjust easily? Some of them can't even speak any native language. So what I see happening among a lot of the native-born Africans that come to America is the same thing that has happened to African Americans after segregation. They exchange their custom and culture for, during segregation, our people who were descendants of the transatlantic slave trade, they exchanged customs and culture and just our way of life. They exchanged it for integration, okay? in the name of giving their kids a better life, giving them the education that they thought they needed to have, all right? But remain within a system which is against everything that they stand for, okay? Everything that is culturally relevant to them, the system is anti that, okay? Are there any areas that we can make progress in the diaspora? Of course, okay? But overall, what is important to us? What's the most important things to us, okay? Is it your family? Is it giving them something that is more than just an experience throughout the diaspora, to say I have a degree from this place, to say I live in that place, to have more money, to work in certain places? What is it? If that's your aim, then you can do that. But even then, there are going to be challenges. There are going to be things within this system that fight it, not because of natural resistance that everyone goes through, but simply because of who they are. All right? And so you have to decide what's important, what's of the most value to you. Okay? And sit down as a family and ask yourself, is it worth losing your family over? Is it? Is it really worth it? Okay? So I've said my view is that among the transatlantic slave descendants, that the women, we're ready to go, Yanko, Africa, all right? But among our men, they're a little bit more hesitant. And I think that men among us are just afraid. A lot of them are just afraid of the unknown and the unfamiliar, okay? They know they can't make it here, they can't thrive here, but they're afraid to go there because they believed a lot of the hype, a lot of the lies, okay? And then among the native-born African men and women, I find that the African men who were born on the continent, they're like, Yanko, Africa, let's go, okay? But the women are a little bit more hesitant because I really think they are afraid of the hard life that may lie ahead. They're afraid of the challenges. They're afraid of, the news that they've seen and things that are happening. Some of them are very real things. But when you look at it and compare it to where you are, you're living in a much more peaceful place, a safer place, a place where your kids, you would be living. When I say if you're on the continent, a place that's much more peaceful, safer. Your kids can get the same education, if not better. Okay, your educational foundation is the most important part of your education, and we know that this system is challenged. Okay, and it's not because you don't have capable teachers. All right, it's because the system itself is working against teachers and students. So anyway, that's just one segment of the reasons why people don't go back. But we just really need to just examine ourselves and see, is it worth it? Is it worth ruining and losing your family over? Okay? All right, that's my take, and I respect yours. Shalom.